Yeah, you read that right. This is a 1080p 240Hz VA monitor. I mean, that sounds like a match made in Grimsby. Seriously, that is, well, you wouldn't think to put those two things together, let's say, and yet, I'm really not that mad about it. Now, AOC's website makes a pretty bold claim that this panel offers a 1 millisecond grey-to-grey response time, which if you've seen any of my reviews before, you know that I built a tool specifically to call out BS marketing like this, which of course you can get over at OSRTT.com. Now, testing with my latest and greatest OSRTT Pro units, the out-of-the-box experience is pretty abysmal. You can expect an average response time of 8.5 milliseconds. That means only 6% of the 30 transitions or the color change transitions that I test with were below the refresh rate time. That's really bad. Now, that is with overdrive set to off, something I really wish they would stop doing. Setting it to the medium setting almost always offers the best experience, as you can see here. It only introduces a tiny amount of overshoot, but cuts the average response time down to just 6.6 milliseconds. That means more like a third of the transitions now fit inside the refresh rate window, which is still a little naff, but is much, much better. If you use the marketing overdrive mode, aka strong, well, you'll find that the initial time goes down to just 4.7 milliseconds, although you should take note that that is still 3.7 milliseconds higher than the claimed 1 millisecond response time, but it introduces so much overshoot that the perceived time actually goes back up to 8.86 milliseconds, or in other words, worse than no overdrive at all. So, in short, this is in no way a 1 millisecond monitor, but on the medium setting, it's not bad. Now, if you're wondering about input lag, well, OSRTT can test that too. The on-display latency was consistently less than 1 frame, which is exactly what you're looking for in a gaming monitor like this. I did also test using my time sleuth, which normally gives me some pretty useful numbers, especially on 1080p monitors, but for some reason I couldn't get the monitor to enable its low input lag mode on the on-screen menu while using either of the HDMI ports. It works just fine using DisplayPort, but at least with my time sleuth and with either of those HDMI ports, it wouldn't let me switch it on at all. That means that I saw some pretty terrible results at around 10 milliseconds. A good display, and with the setting enabled, this one should have this too, should be around 1 millisecond or lower. Their 24G3ZM IPS 240Hz model that I reviewed a year or so ago worked perfectly fine with this, and that was around 1 millisecond, so I'd expect with the mode on, this one should be about the same. As for actually gaming on it, I had a pretty good time with it. Well, it's no 1 millisecond monitor, and I really can't wait for OLED monitors to be this sort of size and resolution, it is good enough for the sort of casual player that I tend to be. I'm not sure that it's exactly a pro esports display, although those sorts of people would likely be using 360Hz or higher monitors anyway at this point, so for the more average gamer who's actually going to buy one of these, this is more than fine. It does still struggle with the dark to light transitions, so if someone is hiding in a dark corner, you're less likely to see them moving, but honestly it's not that bad. In fact, compared to the 24G3ZM I reviewed about a year ago, the actual response times end up being pretty similar, and as does the playing experience. One nice thing about this being a VA panel though, is that it's rather colourful with genuinely deep blacks. Now, it's no OLED obviously, but compared to the grey blacks that you get from an IPS, this looks rather nice. And that brings us nicely onto the brightness, contrast and colour space specs. AOC claims this offers 300 nits of peak brightness, but in my testing, it seems like AOC are underselling themselves here, as I clocked it at more like 317 nits. AOC also claims a 3000 to 1 contrast ratio, but I measured a lot closer to 4000 to 1, which is fantastic and a lot better than the usual 1000 to 1 you get from an IPS panel. They also claim that it covers 92% of the DCI-P3 spectrum, and on this one they are spot on. Exactly 92% coverage is what I measured with my Datacolor Spider X. What's even more impressive to me though is the color accuracy. This came with an average delta E of 1, well below the human eye threshold of 2. In fact, none of the test patches reported higher than 2, so that's excellent. To the eye, this looks like a pretty beautiful panel. It's vibrant and offers properly deep blacks, which always makes for a good viewing experience. If you happen to need to adjust the panel, it has plenty of motion. The usual height, tilt, and swivel, alongside rotation to portrait mode if you really want a 240Hz portrait monitor. The stand is pretty basic, with a wide but relatively slim foot, a rather cheap feel to it if I'm honest, but also plenty of stability, which is quite nice. I/O-wise, it is pretty lacking, with just one DisplayPort 1.2 port and two HDMI 2.0 ports with no USB hubs to be found. The on-screen menu is controlled by sort of separate underslung buttons on the right side of the chin bar, and the menu is their fairly old design with the fairly basic settings you'd expect, although some extra things like AMD FreeSync Premium support, and of course the all-important overdrive modes. But honestly, the real party piece of the 25G3ZM is its absolutely insane price tag. This is for sale on Amazon right now for £190. Under £200 for a 240Hz monitor? I mean, it wasn't all that long ago that we were praising the 24G2U for being a very affordable 144Hz IPS 1080p monitor at this sort of price. So to see an equally good 240Hz model available for this kind of price, well, let's just say I'm pretty blown away. For that kind of price, any flaws that I might have with this seem so insignificant that it seems, well, frivolous to complain about, that all I can say is, if you want a 1080p gaming monitor, this is the new one to buy. And naturally, there will be a global Amazon affiliate link in the description that you can check out if you do want to pick one up, or check out pricing when and where you watch this. At least at the time of filming, it wasn't available in the US when I looked, but by the time you watch this, it might be, so do take a look. If you want to, actually, if you have any thoughts on the 25G3ZM, feel free to let me know what you think in the comments down below. Is it a monitor you would pick up yourself? Are you more in the 1440p class, or would you go with something a little bit cheaper, maybe a little bit higher end for an IPS panel instead? Feel free to let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you want to see more videos like this one, you can hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell notification icon. Check out plenty of other videos on the end cards if you want to keep watching, and check out the rest of the links in the description if you want to support the channel. You can do so through YouTube, Patreon, pick up a hoodie or t-shirt like this one, or a load of other designs I've made myself, or there's different affiliate links to places like OverclockGK if you happen to be buying from there. Otherwise, that's kind of it. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, we'll see you on the next video.